Good morning, Starshine. My giant head says hello. Hi, I'm Ari Lynette, and today I'm doing another video essay because I really enjoy doing these. This is actually an incredibly topical topic for me because right now I feel like I'm going through quite a bit of burnout with some channels that I have on my subscription feed that I used to love, but I feel like I just haven't been loving anymore. And I'm concerned that it's going to end up with me unsubscribing from them. So for me, this is a very current situation, but I like to think it's a universal experience. That every so often we get into a channel, we really get invested into their content, into them as a person, and then eventually, in the coming weeks, months, or even years, we realise that something's changed and we really don't have that same connection anymore. That's the topic of today's video essay. It is beauty channel breakups. Alright, so let's take a quick detour into disclaimer corner. This is a video based on my own personal experience of breaking up with beauty channels. By that I mean unsubscribing. That's literally all I mean, is unsubscribing from them, stopping watching their content. This could extend to unfollowing their social medias, and just talking about my experience with it as a concept, some case studies, and how I've dealt with that, and how you could deal with it. The other disclaimer is that this is not intended as an attack on anyone. Though it is discussing, essentially, unsubscribing from a beauty channel, this isn't intended to attack anyone, or offend anyone, or upset anyone, or anyone. This is purely informational, based on what I've experienced, and I just really wanted to talk about this because I feel like there was a time where I was like, am I the only one who feels like this? And obviously because it's the internet and there are billions of people on it, chances are I probably am not the only person who experiences it. So if you do experience it, then let me know. But enough talk, let's get on to the first part of this video, the honeymoon phase. So we're starting the video with a positive. We're going to talk about the start of the blossoming relationship between viewer and channel. Starting off with a channel can be absolutely amazing. Sometimes there are certain channels where it feels like you could watch anything they do and you'd be happy to watch it, even if it's not necessarily tied to your interests. You're just happy watching the person doing their thing, and it's a lot of fun. There are some people I watch where I feel like that. There are some people I used to watch where I felt like that, and that's changed. This is something that can last for a few weeks, this can last for a few months, this could even last for years. This honeymoon phase is something that can really last for a long time, and if you're lucky, could last throughout the entire duration of a channel. There's one channel that I subscribed to, and until the day that they stopped posting, I was really engaged in their content. So it's possible to live in that honeymoon phase forever. But for the majority of channels it isn't. Not all channels are necessarily that engaging and will get you in that consistent engagement, consistently liking, consistently commenting, consistently watching videos. Some people you just kind of pop in and out of. Go to them for one little thing, but not really for much else they do. When you unsubscribe from one of those channels, it's a lot easier because you aren't really cutting this huge connection. Whereas with these channels that you've built up such an engagement with and you really are passionate about, or were passionate about, it can be a lot harder to cut the cord. It's very easy to drop a channel you were only casually interested in the first place. But if you once had a really deep engagement with this channel and you really enjoyed their content and you find that one day you just don't want to be subscribed to them anymore, it can be difficult. The more engaged you are with the channel, the harder you fall. Which leads me on to a very special analogy I wanted to talk about. So the analogy I wanted to introduce you all to is going to be the start of the next part of the video, which is Pebbles the Brick. That's taken from a saying that I believe first came from Ofra, because I heard it from Wendy Williams, who heard it from Oprah, but essentially I'm paraphrasing. But the phrase is basically, you get pebbles before you get the brick. One really weird parallel with this is sexuality. I got little pebbles across my childhood that I was different in some way, that I liked different things, that I was excited by different things, that I had interest in different things. But I didn't get the brick until a lot later. I didn't get that sudden realization like, oh my god, I'm gay. Like, that's the brick. And nowadays I'm looking back at the pebbles of like, oh wait a minute, I probably should have known. Weird parallel, but it's a similar thing. This can be adapted to channels. You get little hints of concerning behaviour, or little things that just make you think, oh, I don't know. Even if it's mild, you get certain hints occasionally that maybe I'm going to end up falling out of love with this person. You'll get those hints gradually, but it won't be until later that you realise, oh no, I need to unsubscribe because this just isn't good for me. For me, I don't know if this is shared with anyone else, this might be a different case for you, but for me, channel breakups are not a one-strike rule. It's not one bad thing happens, boom, you're out. It's several little bad things happened, and then I kind of realised by the end of it, oh no, these people aren't good. And those little pebbles can span over the course of months. It can even span over the course of years. I remember a lot of people who have experienced this with Jaclyn Hill. That's happened over like the course of 5 years, being one person at the start to this completely different person on the other side. That's probably the most prevalent example I've seen of this phenomenon, shall we call it. For me, one of the biggest things that makes me want to unsubscribe from a channel is a change in personality. But other reasons include a change in direction and content, an over-promotion on sponsored and affiliated content, hypocrisy, a bad attitude, associating with certain people you disagree with, not on trivial things, like on a more moral ground. Also complaining about legitimate criticism I find is getting me. Like whenever someone complains about Reddit, it just like, There are points of legitimate criticism that are brought up against people. Don't get me wrong, there's also some awful things that happen on gossip forums and places like that, but I think that there has to be places for legitimate criticism, and acting like a child about it isn't going to fix anything. So that's one of the reasons why I find that I'm just drifting away from a person, is because of that kind of thing. One important note is that there are valid reasons to unsubscribe from a channel, and it doesn't make you a petty asshole. It means you're questioning the people you're following, which is actually quite a good thing. Sometimes when you unsubscribe from a channel, it can be temporary. You can temporarily unsubscribe from a channel and then realise later on that, oh, I can get back into them and I find that I'm enjoying them again. But there are some cases where that just isn't possible and the tie becomes pretty much completely severed. This is a concept that I have named breakage burnout. Now you're probably thinking, Ari, what the hell is breakage burnout? It sounds like you just made that up. That's because I did. I needed a way to explain the concept in a simple term that wasn't just, oh, when this happens and this happens, and I eventually settled on breakage burnout, which is experiencing a level of burnout with a certain channel that builds up and eventually results in unsubscribing from the channel on a permanent to semi-permanent basis. So here's how the love story of the channel goes. We start over here with the honeymoon phase. This could last all the way over, let's say here, let's stop here, let's be generous. And then here is where the pebbles start. That can take place over a long time, it can stop and start and stuff like that. And then eventually you get the break, and then that's the point where burnout becomes breakage burnout. And it's possible that someone might see through the pebbles, or that behaviour might stop. And that's fine, it doesn't always result in breakage burnout. It's just often a lot of cases have for me. And once I experience that breakage burnout, what do? We hit that unsubscribe button. Right, so now we're on to the part of the video where you've split from this creator. You've decided I don't want to be subscribed to you anymore, whether it's I'm not interested in the content anymore, I don't really like you as a person anymore, or it's just unhealthy for me to keep watching. Because that's something that happens. Get a little later on, this is something that actually happened to me. This can also lead to social media unfollowing, though it also doesn't have to. Just because you unfollow someone on one platform doesn't mean you have to unfollow them on every platform. There are some people where I unsubscribed from the channel, but I didn't unfollow the person on certain other platforms because I was just fine with seeing what they were up to. I just didn't really care about the channel anymore. And that's fine. It's fine to do that and to have places to follow them and places you don't follow them and don't want to follow them. That's okay. Some people that follow me on Twitter might have never heard of my channel or care about my channel, and that's fine. Some people who are on my Instagram might not really care what I have to say on Twitter, and that's okay. It's good to appreciate the followers on different platforms that you have, and appreciate that they don't always have to follow every single one. But once you've unsubscribed from a channel, it kinda sucks. Don't get me wrong. Once I've done that, I know I have reasons, I have valid reasons and valid concern to why I unsubscribed from this channel, and I don't have any regrets. But it still sucks. It's still pretty awful not watching someone anymore. Even if you do have those reasons for doing that, whether it's for the nostalgia of the content they used to have or the person they used to be, you really feel that, and that shouldn't be something that is laughed at or looked at in like a negative way. People get engaged to channels. That's just something that happens. And when you feel like you relate to someone, you get that kind of emotional engagement. it's important. It can help people through different things and inspire people. Like, that's something that is legitimately important to people. So it sucks, but one thing to remember is that you will get over it eventually. I wanted to talk about 2 different case studies I have of personal experiences. We're getting into personal stuff now. For the benefit of making this video not a complete shit show, I have decided to make these 2 case studies anonymous. I'm referring to the people with gender neutral pronouns and also through code names, and then whatever the hell you think of that is yours to think. But I think there's no use to revealing explicitly people I've unfollowed. I don't know, it's not the thing I want to do. But I do have 2 case studies from real life and their channels that I've unfollowed for specific reasons. So the first example, we're going to codename this one Big Beauty. So this is a large beauty channel with a wide audience. I used to love their content. They did very specific types of reviews in eye looks, and I really liked their content a lot. And then it changed. It became a lot more like challenge-based things and weird whatever was viral at the time things that I just wasn't interested in. This wasn't actually me unsubscribing because around the time I started this channel, Ari Lynette, the channel, I had to move all of my subscriptions from my personal account to the Ari Lynette channel account. There were some of them I forgot, there were some of them I picked up on later. This one I just never bothered resubscribing to because I wasn't really interested in their new content. I still respect them as a person and I wish them the best. They seem really genuinely nice and I feel nostalgic for their old content. But their new content just doesn't interest me at all, and also their association with certain people is questionable. But I still like them as a person, it's just that I don't really care for their new content. So that's the first example, and quite an amiable example of breakage burnout. The second one is a little bit less amiable. So for the second case study, we're going to call this one a Colourful Cousin. So this is a smaller beauty channel that I really used to love and used to watch pretty much all of their videos. I really liked what they represented, I really liked their content, I felt like I was just endlessly inspired by them. And then I noticed a change in their behaviour. I felt like they were becoming a lot more holier than thou, and I found that what they were doing was starting to annoy me, and it just made me not want to watch their content anymore through the use of certain tropes and certain things that I just felt like I wasn't enjoying what I was watching from them anymore. Another thing I really didn't like is that they over-promoted their affiliate content, and this affected how they critiqued new releases because there was a very clear bias, and that really annoyed me because it's like you claim to be reviewing things fairly and then there's clearly this bias towards the brands that are paying attention to you. I just felt like it was incredibly disingenuous. It just riled me up a lot, and it got to the point where I was like, 1, I don't really like this person anymore, and 2, it's literally unhealthy to keep watching this channel. So I unsubscribed, I unfollowed, and I haven't gone back since. So those are 2 different examples, but what I wanted to get out of those examples is that this isn't exclusive to bigger channels. My current case of burnout is with smaller channels to the same size as that second example, so I think that to say that the example is all bigger influencers changing because money got them isn't always the thing. Sometimes it's just that the person's behaviour changes and you just don't like that anymore, and you just find that it's not what you signed up for in the first place and you don't want to follow that person anymore. Something I've had to accept is that breakage burnout is just part of the experience. It's kind of just something you have to deal with and live with. Eventually you're just going to drift away from certain channels and certain channels are going to lose you. Now I've put a name to the concept, I feel like I'm a lot more at peace with that. Breakage burnout is going to happen and there isn't anything I can do about that. I can just find the best ways to deal with it. But if you do need a little bit of extra help, I do have a little guide to getting over. So if you do need any help getting over a channel that you've unsubscribed from, I do have some advice. One really important thing I wanted to say is that maybe this person has changed, but maybe you've changed, and I think that it's only right that you allow yourself a little bit of character development, dare I say. Accept the fact that your tastes are changing and you won't always like the same thing. Something you might have thought was cute and endearing at the start later on becomes shrill and annoying. You're allowed to change your mind. You're allowed to evolve. Looking at your past decisions and thinking, oh, that wasn't a good idea, that's actually quite a good thing because it means you've changed. It means you can critique what you used to do and be a little more constructive about it. That's nothing to be ashamed of, and that's the same thing with unsubscribing from a channel. It's just part of that personal evolution, and there's no shame in it. As long as you aren't harassing people, if you literally just left in silence, there is nothing wrong with that. Next tip. There are plenty of fish in the sea. Is it a massive cliche? Absolutely. Does it apply to this scenario?
Absolutely.
Pretty much everyone is replaceable. Just because you unsubscribe from one person that covers indie releases doesn't mean that there aren't a ton of other people out there who cover indie releases that might be better. Just because you unsubscribe from one man in makeup doesn't mean you can't find another man in makeup who's better. In terms of genre, in terms of format, description, ethnicity, there are so many people out there doing makeup reviews, and you really just have to look for them. Because there are so many people out there, it is a friggin' jungle, and you just have to go through and look for it. And if you look, you'll find amazing people. I've found some amazing YouTubers through my channel, meeting people around my size or maybe a little bit bigger who are just really awesome, and I think that that's really helped me see that losing one person doesn't really matter if you're prepared to find people. Another thing I wanted to mention is something I've been really struggling with initially. Being the odd one out. When you're in a community and everyone likes different people, there might be a lot of people who like a person that you don't like anymore. It's certainly the case with me. Certainly a case where I'm looking at people talking about these people like they're amazing, and I'm like, are you sure about that? And there are hundreds of times where I've just wanted to be like, oh my god, no, this is a terrible idea, why are you supporting this person? And it's like, it doesn't matter. Honestly, being the odd one out is fine. It's a weird situation, but just stick with it. There are people who are beloved in the smaller beauty community that I flat out dislike. But just because my friends watch them, just because the people I watch them, just because my mutuals watch them, doesn't matter. If I don't like them, I'm not gonna watch them. And I think that if everyone had that attitude and was a little bit more proactive based on their own opinions of people instead of just going along with friends, our subscription feeds would probably be a lot more true to ourselves. I don't believe in the cliques and the factions of the beauty community. I don't care about any of that. If you like a person, subscribe to them. If you don't like a person, don't subscribe to them or unsubscribe to them. Because at the end of the day, it's your channel, it's your subscription feed, it's yours, so don't live it for other people. It's okay to be the odd one out. The next thing is, again, it's your subscription feed, so don't feel obligated to keep people subscribed just because you feel like you'll be guilty if you unsubscribe. It doesn't have an effect on your character. You will be fine, they will be fine, they will survive without you, they'll move on, and you will move on. It's fine. Everything's fine. And I'm not saying that creators are soulless automatons, because we aren't. We probably would react with sadness if we heard someone had unsubscribed. But at the end of the day, you don't have to tell anyone. You don't have to tell people, oh, I've unsubscribed to this person, then I want everyone to know. It's like, no, I don't really care. I don't do that because I know at the end of the day, they probably don't really care about my reasoning. But if you unsubscribe from a channel, everyone's gonna be fine. It's not the end of the world for anyone. The last note I wanted to say is people have valid reasons to unsubscribe from channels. Unsubscribing from a channel doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't make you a bad fan. It doesn't mean you're betraying anything. It is just that you don't want to watch their content anymore and you've lost that connection. Again, it doesn't have an effect on your character. If you are watching a channel that is making you unhappy while you're watching it and you're like, oh god, and you're pointing out every minute why they should not be doing something, that's pretty unhealthy. You should not be watching a channel or a video that makes you want to rip your hair out. Prioritize your happiness. Watching makeup videos is supposed to make you happy, or at least educated or entertained, but mostly happy is what I'm getting at. So if you aren't happy watching a channel, it's fine to unsubscribe. That doesn't make you a bad person. And hey, if you think you got it wrong and you want to give them another chance, it's fine to resubscribe. It's fine to change your mind. Everyone changes their mind. It's not this kind of hard, fast, permanent thing. It's an easy thing to do, and it's an easy thing to not do. And once you have done that, remember that your reasons are valid. You unsubscribe for a reason. Think about that. Stick to your guns, because your reasons are valid, and you are valid. But also your reasons are valid. And don't let anyone tell you you're being irrational for unsubscribing to a channel for a certain reason. Unless it's a stupid reason. But hopefully everyone that's watching this video has some good judgment. I mean, you clicked on me after all. But always remember, you have valid reasons to unsubscribe, and that's okay. And that's the video. So I do have some concluding notes. It can be hard to drop a channel that you were once really attached to and had this special connection with. But if you don't enjoy watching their content anymore, if you don't click on their content anymore, if you don't feel comfortable supporting them anymore, or if you get that dreaded breakage burnout, cutting the cord is completely fine. And when I'm saying this, I might be addressing an audience. I might just be addressing the little subconscious part of myself that thinks that there is something a little bit guilty about it. But I'm gonna say now, there's nothing wrong with unsubscribing to a channel if you feel like you just don't get along with them anymore. I feel like this is quite a taboo subject. People try and keep very nice and very silent about these issues. And I appreciate that people don't want to offend, people don't want to be causing controversy. And that's okay. That's completely fine and completely valid. But I feel like there needs to be at times a dialogue of saying, I feel the same way. I feel like there are times where I get that burnout to the point where I just don't want to be subscribed to them anymore. So I really want to open up the comment section to anyone who's felt that way about a channel, who's felt like they've really loved a channel at first and then it's just gone to the point where they don't really want to support that channel anymore. So if you have any experiences of this, leave it in the comments. As always, keep it civil. But I hope we can really create a dialogue about not feeling guilty about unsubscribing from channels. Hopefully we can create this dialogue that breakage burnout is something normal that happens, that it's normal to go through that and we don't have to act like we're permanently supporting a person, because we as people who watch channels are entitled to change our minds. And so are you! But thank you for watching this video. I've been Ari Lynette, you've been amazing, and please unsubscribe responsibly. Bye.
Thanks for watching. If you like this, give it a thumbs up and come say hi in the comments. You can find me on Twitter at AriLynetteWork and on Instagram at AriLynette. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Love you for watching.